Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy, and welcome back to the beautiful Kanto region, working today on expanding Viridian City. And right off the bat, we're getting into some nice action here. But before I talk too much about what's going on screen, I just want to say I believe this is the first episode that I'm recording in my new house. I just moved into a gorgeous 1882 Italianate Victorian row house here in St. Louis, Missouri. And unfortunately, the day after I moved in, they began doing utility work and started digging up the gas lines in front of my house. So there is a great deal of construction happening in my pretty immediate vicinity. So apologies in advance if you hear any of that. Now, let's get into the good stuff, folks. Welcome to the show. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you had a wonderful week. We are here in Viridian City, right on the main drag of town. This is kind of the main street that we established in the previous episode, and just starting to kind of develop the shape of it, trying to immediately kind of get some nice tall buildings in here. This is kind of going to be, I guess tall by the standards of Pallet Town at the very least. This is kind of going to be about the shape of things here. This is about as tall as buildings are going to get. Is between this one and the ones I put last week, I don't think anything gets a whole heck of a lot taller. Some of it will get a bit taller just based on its geographical location, but this is going to be kind of the long and short of the downtown area. And this building, really cool building. I think it's a department store in real life. We could say it's a Pokemart. I don't feel too strongly one way or the other in that regard, but we could say it's a Pokemart. And I put it here downtown, right at the main kind of intersection of the two big roads, and immediately realized that the slope of this place is pretty hectic. And I know I had said in the last episode I was going to try to keep things pretty flat here. That goes right out the window pretty much immediately. Everything is on a pretty intense hill, and well, that's just kind of the way it's going to be. Better luck next time to me, I suppose. We'll see if one of these cities at least can come out pretty flat. So some of these Japanese easy houses, as they're called on the workshop, maybe a few of these will work to my benefit, and I'll be able to actually make them as flat and easy as they purport to be. Anyway, we're working on downtown today, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of like my philosophy here. I did a bit of research, a bit of outside reading about Japanese urban planning and kind of the way that things work. And one of the neat things that you see a lot is I kind of shouted it out in Pallet Town as kind of explaining it as Pallet Town being a bit of a working class fisherman's town, but it's really actually present all over Japan. You see this pretty frequently. Is zoning is just not really a big thing there in the same way as it is here in the States, as it is in some of Europe. You don't really see the same, steadfast commitment to keeping things separated. You don't really see a whole lot of you do see industrial areas and you do see commercial areas, you do see residential areas, but within those there's almost always going to be a good mix of all types of this and that. And so that's kind of something that I'm trying to play with a lot here in Viridian City is taking the opportunity to really mix the types of building, mix the sizes of buildings in particular. We're putting a lot of big office buildings and big commercial buildings kind of right next to low density single family, maybe 2 to 3 family, but small, short residential buildings. And that's going to be a big part of the flavor of this city that you're going to be seeing. And what I'm working on right now is kind of working out how the train line is going to make its way through town. I'm kind of planning it. We'll see how successful this actually turns out being, but I am planning it with the idea that you should be able to take this train directly pretty much to everywhere else in the region but Pallet Town and, Cinnabar Island and the Seafoam Islands and all that, because those are going to be just kind of isolated islands that are just kind of on their own. And but otherwise, I mean, this is going to be connected up to the rest of the known Kanto region world. And so this is kind of a major hub. You know, I don't want to make it seem as though this is a major city, because it's not. It's not in the game, and it's not the inspiration that I'm taking for this. If you're new to the series, if you somehow missed the last episode, something like that, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from the Japanese city Aomori, which is kind of the big city of a very rural province of Japan, also called Aomori, and that's kind of the vibe I'm going for here. Is and it makes sense for it to be that, because it's it's the first thing that you visit when you leave Pallet Town, and its nearest nearby city is Pewter City, which I am still kind of in the research and planning phase for that. We're still quite a ways away from getting there. Viridian City is going to take a bit longer than Pallet Town did. As of right now, as we speak, I am, as usual, a bit ahead of where the episodes are at, and I am just about wrapping up episode 11, and I still have probably, like even being generous to myself, I would say I probably have 3 to 4 episodes left before this project is wrapped up and we can move on to Pewter City. I am really trying my best in this project to keep the scale of things manageable, and to keep the scope of this from getting out of hand. So I am really trying my best to finish cities before I leave them. As much as I'm like, I'm raring to go for Pewter City. I really want to get at it, because I have some cool ideas for it. I have the aesthetic in mind. I'm still trying to look for good reference material. I guess this is a good opportunity to kind of like reach out to the community a little bit and talk to y'all about it. Do any of you are any of you big Japan heads, big Japanophiles? Do you spend a lot of time looking at Japan on Google Earth? Are you perhaps from Japan? I couldn't say. I don't know my demographics that well. But if you are one of these people, and you do know a bit about the land of the rising sun, if you'll allow me, if you know some things, please hit me up in the comments and let me know where you think I should be taking inspiration from for, the various cities around the map, right? We can talk a little bit about kind of what's to come, assuming that I get there, assuming that the save doesn't break, that I don't run out of stuff, that I am actually able to finish this to my heart's content, that I am actually able to get this into the product that I actually want it to be. Where do you think I should be taking inspiration from? We have coming up down the pipeline, we have with Pewter City, which it's a mountainous place. The location of it on the map is kind of sat in this tiny little valley between 3 or 4 big mountains. And it makes sense in the game, in the show, in everything really. Pewter City is, I guess in the show they show it to be a bit bigger than I would perhaps want it to be. They show a pretty tall skyline when they show it, but I'm thinking of it as more of a kind of a rural mountain village with a lot of kind of like old wood buildings. So if you know some places like that I should be taking inspiration from, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I already know exactly where I'm going to be taking inspiration from for Cerulean City, so don't worry about that too much. And obviously the big cities are going to be the big cities. I'm still trying to figure out where I should be looking at for somewhere like Cinnabar Island. So if you know anything about that, Seafoam Island too. Looking for like tropical locales, if you know any. I assume in kind of like the south of Japan is where we'll start to see more of that, which is kind of interesting, actually. I was just thinking about this the other day, that, I've been looking a lot at like the Pokemon manga, and, I've been watching a lot of Miyazaki movies lately. My son is on kind of a big Miyazaki kick, so I am doing a great deal of that. But, I notice a lot that that anime artists depict Japan with palm trees more often than you see them in real life. As far as I've seen so far in my research for this project, in previous lookings at of Google Earth in Japan, it seems like evergreens, pine trees, are really kind of more of the flavor of tree that you're seeing for the most part. So tell me, where do I find all these palm trees that everybody is putting into their shows and mangas and stuff? I'm very curious to know. Anyway, we're kind of wrapping up this little residential area next to the downtown, trying to kind of like bring the skyline down in a nice smooth motion as we make our way down this avenue. That's something that I work a lot in on all my series. It's something I talk a lot about, so I won't talk at great length about it here. Instead, I'll talk about kind of what I'm doing with these little shop fronts. I have kind of all along this strip, I have little sets of like 3 to 4 retail establishments, kind of all in different places. I'm trying to give them all their own little unique, like tiled front area. Part of this is because they're set back a little further from the road, and the color of the sidewalks on this road that I used are different from my pavement texture. So I'm trying to kind of hide that, or at least like kind of make a little bit of sense. I think it ends up looking really cool, and I'm going to kind of continue this theme throughout the city. And speaking of themes throughout the city, this is something that I thought I would do a lot of, and I do still plan to do a lot of, but I end up kind of forgetting about it after this episode for a while. I'll have to come back and do a little bit of this type of detailing going forward. But basically, I was thinking that Viridian City is it's by the water, but the gym theme, the Viridian City gym, Giovanni, the gym leader, he uses like Earth type Pokemon. So I mean, I'm trying to keep that in mind as I'm designing this city. I'm trying to keep it pretty green, pretty natural. And one of the things that I started doing is using ivy on all these buildings. I kind of thought it would make some sense since we're so close to the water, and since I'm trying to integrate green into the designs a lot. It kind of made some sense to me that I would put ivy on the walls of all these kind of like waterfront buildings. I'm gonna put like probably moss decals on the ground a lot too, just to really kind of show the way that the moisture content of the area is kind of impacting the overall look and personality of the city. Now over here we have the way that the train kind of meanders its way out of town. The main line is going to make its way out towards I believe Vermilion City is the next closest. Maybe it is somewhere else, I can't remember. There's another city that's kind of right on the other side of the mountain from here, and that's going to be kind of the main line that takes us all around the region. And then there's kind of this little fork that splits off, and that's going to go up towards Cerulean City. And then heading out in the opposite direction, it's going to make its way out to Pewter City, and there's going to be a fork that leads its way out of the region over to, I believe, Johto would be... I believe that's the next one after Kanto in that direction. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I am, though. And anyway, this is kind of... I'm really liking the way that this kind of this sunken railway is looking going through downtown. It kind of gives it a nice natural division between the big buildings of downtown and what will be kind of the smaller buildings on the other side of these tracks. It's a nice natural divider. It makes sense where it is. It's not taken from anywhere in real life in particular. I mean, you see this all over the world. I mean, this isn't a unique idea to have a sunken railway, sunken highway, etc. But it just kind of made sense to be there, just given the topography of the city. And now I'm kind of like building this big platformed area to, in part to hide the tunnel. I don't really love the way that the tunnel looks, but also it just kind of adds a little bit more visual appeal, gets some of these buildings up a little bit higher above the tree line. And I just kind of add this little industrial area, which in retrospect, I think maybe I could have used bigger warehouses. Maybe I could have added some more junk into the backs of these. That could have maybe helped a little bit. But I feel that by the end of this, they unfortunately, they just look a little on their own. It looks a little empty back there. So I might come back and throw a few more little things in here just to fill the space a little bit. Speaking of filling space, putting some trucks around. This is one type of vehicle detailing that I'm not going to feel bad about doing. I'm not going to stop doing. I think it adds some life to the industrial areas, and you have a little bit more control over it than you do over the trucks that will actually be loading and unloading from here. So that's kind of nice, and it gives you a little bit of variety that you control as well. Otherwise, just doing some nice grungy sort of decals around here, just beating it up a little bit, putting some puddles and some skid marks and stuff just to show a little bit of activity that has happened here in the past. This is not going to feature too prominently on the cinematics, unfortunately, because by the end of the episode, I didn't end up doing any sort of generic building on the other side of those warehouses. So they just kind of look kind of all on their own and empty. This is kind of a little bit in the same way as that first building that we placed in the episode. Kind of an interesting design choice that comes as the result of need more than anything else. This building, I kind of set it a little above the street level, just because things are so hilly heading from the river up to the highway. And I guess I could have altered the highway a little bit to have made it a little bit easier to manage. But where's the fun in that, right? Who wants to do that? Not me, that's for sure. Instead, I decided to kind of set this up, into the hill a little bit, give it some stairs heading up. You do see a lot of this in Japan. I've talked about it in the past, so I won't go into it at great length here, but it's not exactly an unknown design feature of buildings in Japan. It is, however, an accessibility nightmare. I don't know what the Japanese equivalent of the ADA is, but I'm sure they wouldn't be too thrilled with this. What is it? The JDA, I imagine. Anyway, we are coming up on the end of the episode here. We're just kind of detailing this building with some retail locations at the bottom. I think these are all restaurants. I did do Google Translate for all of these, but I didn't write it down for myself to remember later. I really got to start labeling these for myself just for my own convenience later on. Anyway, one more big building here, doing a little bit of detailing around it as well, and then that's going to wrap up the episode. Folks, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching my show. Thanks for spending your Friday with me, or whatever day it is that you watch this episode. My name is Jeremy. You can find me on Twitter at @JeremyThunder. You can check out my podcast. It's called Generation Loss. It's about movies. You can check out past episodes of this series. There's a playlist in my profile. You can check out the asset collection that is in the description of this episode now. And support me as a channel member if you want early access to episodes. There should be a few up there now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.